So, Mr. Lars, so you would like to work at our company?
Yes.
I read your CV. You went backpacking for 1 year, is that right?
Uh-huh.
So no work experience after you finished your studies?
I traveled.
So you think you made any important experiences while you traveled?
Okay, stop.
So I believe there are many skills you learn and improve while you are traveling the world. In this video I will tell you the most important skills you can even talk about in your job interview. You are able to face your limits. When you're backpacking, it's almost impossible not to leave your comfort zone. Most of the challenges you do, you maybe choose on your own. For example, you're going to do some really big hikes like alpine crossings. You're going to do some river crossings, diving, swimming with sharks, jumping out of a plane, or stuff like canyoning. But there are also some other situations which you don't choose. So challenges you don't choose and you don't expect. For example, it happened many times that we were starving. We had like really big tours, like long bus rides. We didn't have enough food. The street food you got at some places was disgusting, so you just didn't want to buy it. And many times when we tried to get somewhere and the buses dropped us somewhere, we still had to walk a long way until we found our guest house or the hostel we wanted to stay at. So sometimes we even walked like a couple of kilometers before we arrived at the actual point. So this was also like a hard way to go, and we really thought about giving up sometimes, but there was no point in giving up. And for example, we booked that bus ride in Vietnam and they wouldn't let us pee for 5 hours. This was hard. But for your job, you learn what your limits are. You learn how far you can go, and what's even more important is you learn that you can push your limits further than you knew, and you will experience your limits in so many different ways. So this is a skill you have now. Crisis management. You will always find a solution. When we booked a tour to those beautiful islands, those Mentawai Islands in Indonesia, we booked that tour with a guide, and this guy actually tried to rip us off. He tried to steal a couple of $100 from us. So we were stuck on that lonely island. There were not many people, with this really strange kind of criminal guy who wanted to keep our money. At one point we made a choice to face him, to talk to him, and to manage to get our money back, and we did at the end. But this was only one of several difficult situations we got when we traveled. And you learn how to deal with them, you learn how to be straightforward, you try to reach your goals, of course, and you try to solve that problem. And communication. Learn how to communicate in a different language or without any language at all. When we were in Malaysia, in the Cameron Highlands, we were like kind of lost. We knew that we have to hike like a long way. This was impossible. You couldn't make it, so we didn't know what to do, and we hitchhiked. We hitchhiked before in different countries like New Zealand, Australia, but those people, they spoke English, they were really friendly. At this time, the Chinese couple stopped and they actually took us to the next village, but we couldn't communicate at all. They took us to the place where we wanted to go, but they didn't speak a single word in English. They didn't understand anything. No thank you, no stop. And you will communicate with people who don't speak proper English. Like you will write emails, you will write messages, you will have like some really funny phone calls as well. You will talk to taxi drivers, show them the address where you want to go, and they won't be able to read them because they can't read the letters. The only thing they can read is like the Thai language or Cambodia. They use totally different characters, and you will also be confronted with different ways of thinking, different cultures, of course, because you travel. What happened to us in Indonesia, on Sumatra as well, we booked a hostel in Bukit Labang and we sent them an email and we said we're going to arrive tomorrow. We couldn't tell them like the time, they didn't know which bus we're going to take, so they didn't even know if we are actually coming. But the next day when we arrived in Bukit Labang, there was one guy waiting for us. So he was waiting in the sun on that bus terminal like for the whole day or something. So this is a different way of thinking. They make everything possible in Asia, and this is something you need to understand when you travel. That different cultures, different people think differently, and you have to adjust as well. So when you travel, you learn how to speak with other people, how to communicate with other people, and how to respect other cultures. And this is something which is really, really important. For example, when you're going to work in a team working, you are able to understand the people you're working with. You are able to understand your customers, your clients. Nowadays, where we have globalization, where you have international customers, you need to speak and talk and communicate with other people. So this skill is more important than ever before. Curiosity. If you decide to travel the world, to leave your home country, to leave all the habits you have behind, you are willing to open your mind, and this is something companies need nowadays. They need people who are able to think outside of the box. A successful company needs new innovations, new ideas, and if you're a person like that, who travel the world, who have seen different things, you will be open for that. And this will also be a progress for the company you work for. Project management. Many people think that backpacking means you have a really, really long holiday, which is true. But on the other hand, if you're able to travel for a really long time, you also need some project management skills. This includes also money control. For every trip you do, you only have a certain amount of money and you have to track your money. You have to organize your bank accounts. So we use like Excel sheets or other apps to know which budget we have for each country. And you also learn how to keep your expenses low, how to negotiate with other people, for example tourist agencies, to get good deals, to bargain. And another project management skill is time management. You're going to catch planes, trains, cars, buses, minibuses, night buses, tuk-tuk. At the same time, you need to keep an eye on your visa. When does your visa expire? And you try to see as much as you can. You try to follow your bucket list. So this is time management. Whenever you go to a country, when you book, for example, your flight in and out, you know you arrive and you know where you're leaving, and everything what happens in between is time management. You plan where you're going, how long you stay. So for everything like managing your budget, your time, you also need to be really good in decision making. You need to know the best way how to weigh the options you have, which places you want to see, which places you can afford, how much you can spend in each country at each place. Connected to this, there's another skill you need. You need research skills. Nowadays, everyone can Google finding the cheapest flights, the best places to go, the easiest way to travel. This really depends on your research skills. And this is also important for your job. We had a budget and we tried to travel as long as we can. But for this, good research was essential. Adaptability. No matter how much research you do, how much you plan, your plans will always change. This is something you learn when you travel. When we traveled, we skipped a couple of countries where we wanted to go, and we went to totally different places we didn't plan to go. So you learn how to adapt, and this is something you also need for working life, because when you have a project, something can happen as well. For example, they say you need to deliver the next day and you thought you have a couple of more days. So you need to adjust, and this is something you learned before. And the last really important skill you learn how to love life. Traveling teaches you how to love life and how to enjoy little things. You can wear like the same 3 t-shirts for a couple of months. You just have 1 pair of sneakers and just 1 pair of flip-flops. And only like 2 towels, 1 for the beach and 1 for the shower. And most of the times, both are wet. Or you know, when you sleep in a tent or in a car somewhere in the nature, this can be the most beautiful place. Or when you're in a bungalow on an island, you don't have electricity, but you don't care. Or you're grateful that you found a really nice clean river where you can wash your dishes. Or it's okay to eat pasta all day. Or when you see poor children who don't have anything, how they play in the rain and how happy they are, you will realize that you don't need anything to be happy. So what you learn is that you need money for traveling, but money is not everything. You learn how to appreciate what you have, how to love your life and the world we're living in, that you can travel, you can see other countries, other people, and this will make you a happy person and a satisfied person. And if you're a happy person, you will only look for a job which makes you happy. And if you're happy, you will do a good job, that's for sure. And this is a skill you learn when you travel. So if you're thinking about traveling and you're not sure and this video helped you, please give me a thumb up. If you have the possibility, you finish high school, you finish your studies, you can do a gap year, go for it. I did work in holiday in Australia after I finished high school. During my studies, I did a semester abroad in Norway. And after I finished my studies, me and my girlfriend, we went traveling for 9 months. You can learn so much from traveling. Don't be scared. Get out there. If you want to see more videos how to travel, if you need some information, please subscribe my channel. Thank you for watching.